Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of The Dive here at Maher Media. Today we're going to be taking a look at Massimo Rizzo. So Rizzo has had an interesting prospect journey, having been drafted in 2019 by the Carolina Hurricanes in the 7th round, 216th overall. Rizzo was actually drafted before he ever stepped foot on the ice for Denver University, having played major juniors for Penticton Vees back home in British Columbia. Obviously, Rizzo would go on to have a successful career at DU, winning the national championship in 2022 and also in 2024. In 3 years at Denver University, Rizzo scored 39 goals and added 87 assists. That put him well over a point per game. He did struggle with some injuries in the latter half of the 2024 season, but did return for the Frozen Four. Played how you'd expect, jumped back in pretty well, but having dealt with those injuries, not exactly the same. Rizzo was a Hobey Baker Award finalist in 2023, an award given to the most valuable player in college hockey. Unfortunately, he did not win it, but just the nod itself goes to show how effective Rizzo had been in that season. Rizzo was also given various academic all-conference nods and was a second-team All-American in 2024. So in August of 2023, Rizzo was traded to Philadelphia along with a 5th-round pick in exchange for the rights to David Kase. Kase played for the Flyers quite a while ago. He's over in Europe now. Think of it more as just having to send something back. This trade was a little interesting for general manager Danny Briere. All in all, it was kind of a thank you from Carolina for buying out Tony DeAngelo's contract. DeAngelo obviously played for the Flyers prior season. Didn't really fit. Made a playoff run with Carolina this year. Ultimately, didn't end the way they wanted it to. All in all, it does look like a rather effective trade for Danny Briere in his first offseason. No complaints there. Rizzo comes in at 5'11" and 175 pounds, so he hardly lacks the size to become an NHL center. Claude Giroux, of course, his time with the Flyers, he was 5'11", 185 pounds. So given some time in camp and a couple of years being pro, it's not out of the question to assume that Rizzo can bulk up and play the center in the NHL. Rizzo is certainly on the older side of prospects, considering he is 22 years old. That's not necessarily uncommon for a lot of these NCAA guys. Not everyone could be Macklin Celebrini lighting the show up at 17 years old. So I don't think that's a cause for concern, and if anything, it could help Rizzo make the team out of camp sooner. So when it comes to Rizzo's style of play, there's a couple things I noted in watching some of his highlights. First of all, he has absolutely wonderful chemistry with 2024 draft prospect 𝐆𝐔𝐘𝐒. Bouillon has been mocked to the Flyers in certain spots. This year's draft will be a little interesting to see where that falls, but having Bouillon and Rizzo certainly would be an interesting pair, especially to see what they can do in camp, and it may benefit Rizzo in the long run. With that, being on the power play, Rizzo was an excellent net front presence, definitely a surefire cleanup guy in front of the net. Kind of reminded me of Zach Hyman watching some of the goals. Every team needs one of those guys, and Rizzo proved very valuable for DU. Rizzo, at his core, I'd say, is a playmaker. He has excellent cross-ice vision on the power play. This can be seen countless times during the Frozen Four, both in 2024 and 2022. He played a big role in possibly the best power play in the nation, and I think there's something to be said about that. Rizzo also has a beautiful one-timer, really drops the knee, gets down, and lifts the puck. Obviously, that's something most hockey players are taught from a very young age, so it's just kind of cool to see that done at such a high level. As I said before, Rizzo is reliable on the power play, not only as a facilitator, but also a goal scorer, which could prove pivotal for the Flyers as they look to improve from having the worst power play in the league. It's not to say that a 7th-round pick can fix all things, but it'd be hard to get worse than what the Flyers were at last year, so it's definitely something to watch out for come camp. I was able to unscavenge some clips from Rizzo's youth hockey team in Burnaby. They posted them on YouTube just to show them and get them probably recruited to Penticton. It was actually really impressive to see his hands at such a young age. It's something that he's definitely continue to work on. The kid can move the puck. He's got silky hands. It's nice to see. There are scenarios, though, where Rizzo could improve. He's not necessarily the most fluid skater, but he does have tremendous upside if he can figure that out. We've seen guys with interesting strides make it out. But that's not to say that Rizzo doesn't have an acceleration. He definitely does have breakaway speed, but he's probably going to go for a move with his hands rather than relying on his skates to beat a goalie or a defender. I think Rizzo has middle six potential. It would be interesting to see how he develops, especially considering he's 22 years old. It's going to be probably not a linear path for him, but he does remind me a little bit of the Arizona Coyotes, now the Utah hockey team's Nick Schmaltz. A good, solid playmaking center. Not necessarily a burner, but definitely a solid guy that is probably a second or third line center on a cup contending team. It'll be interesting to see how Rizzo does at camp. He signed a 2-year ELC with the Flyers back this spring. 2-year other than 3-year, probably due to his age, but it's going to be interesting to see. So yeah, thanks.